Naturally, the arrest of Tony Raymond is a serious matter to him. And it should be a serious matter for all of us. Here, I will draw you a more complete picture of how we arrived at this point. Facts of the case: Mr. Raymond was arrested on Wednesday, December 12, 2023, while performing his duties as a bus driver with the MBTA. He was charged with 2 counts of witness intimidation. The charge stemmed from a TikTok cartoon caricature posted by Tony, on or about December 8, 2023. A copy of the police report is still pending redactions and completion by the Everett Police Department. Opinion: the fact that one or more senior officials from the city of Everett and/or close cohorts of the same are undoubtedly behind the sham of an arrest was orchestrated to send a message to both Tony and other residents in general who share Tony's passion and demands for an honest, transparent, and effective form of local city government. It is highly unlikely the complainants drew any fear or apprehension from the caricature martial art figure depicted in the cartoon, and nonetheless, the U.S. Supreme Court has been very clear on the use of such images. Hands down, there has been nothing illegal done in Tony's December 8 posting.
Supreme Court cases today, one involving a Muslim woman in Abercrombie & Fitch. The second involves threats made on social media.
Barry Bagnado of CBS News Radio joins us via the telephone. Barry, thanks for being with us. Let's talk first about the Facebook threats. What did the judges decide?
Well, this wasn't the broad First Amendment free speech on social media ruling that a lot of people had hoped for, Vlad, but the court did clarify when someone can be charged with making threats online. In this particular case, Anthony Douglas Alanis responded to a restraining order that his wife obtained by going on Facebook and posting things like, "Is it thick enough to stop a bullet?" And after a visit from the FBI, he posted, "The next time you knock, I will touch the detonator in my pocket and we're all going to go boom." He was charged with making threats. He claimed this was all tongue-in-cheek, that he really didn't mean anything by it. And basically the Supreme Court said today that it's not enough for the government simply to show negligence. It must also show a particular mental state, and it says that requirement can be met if the government proves that the defendant knowingly sent a threat or had the knowledge that that threat or that communication would be viewed as a threat. So there's some free speech protections here, but only so much. If someone knows it's a threat or presumes that other people might think it would be that, then they can be charged.
So, Barry, does this open the door to other threats being allowed then?
That has to be clarified by lower courts, Meg, and the Supreme Court left a lot open here. But under the standard that it's set today, it's possible that Anthony Alanis could eventually be convicted. His convictions have been thrown out with this ruling. But under the standard, if the government can prove that he should have known that these postings would be viewed as a threat, then he could potentially be convicted.
Barry, I'm really curious. You've been covering SCOTUS for many, many years now, and I'm just wondering what you think or what has changed, if anything, in the way that they're looking at social media vis-a-vis the First Amendment and vis-a-vis the Bill of Rights. In other words, these things, social media is expanding. I remember rap songs, for example, Eminem's song Stan, where he basically talks about murdering his wife, you know, and now you have social media and these guys are saying this was just tongue-in-cheek. How are they looking at the technology revolution vis-a-vis the Bill of Rights?
That's a very interesting question, Vlad, and I think that that issue comes up every few months here at the Supreme Court, and today they purposefully stayed away from any broad First Amendment issues. They just focused on the statute that was involved here, so they sort of dodged the broader ruling that many had hoped to see. People are looking for clarification as to what they can post and what they can't post. This provides some guidance, but not that broader ruling that a lot of people wanted.
All right, really intriguing for First Amendment advocates. Barry Bagnado, thank you so much.
Background: Tony has been the chief administrator of the private Facebook page Everett Reporter 2 and remains one of the administrators of its predecessor Everett Reporter. It is important to note that Everett Reporter was a Facebook page started by the late Stephen Fitzgerald as a response to friends and acquaintances describing any number of controversial circumstances in Steve's former hometown of Everett. Mr. Fitzgerald succumbed to natural causes in his home in Las Vegas, Nevada some 2 years ago. In the course of posting several well-sourced items or stories in news fashion, Steve made some enemies within city of Everett. In an ongoing lawsuit, Everett reporter was cited as being a source of disparaging information, and in a similar subsequent lawsuit the defendant John Doe was added, with John Doe being described as one or more persons who are behind the stories from Everett reporter. Carlo DeMaria filed the first defamation suit against Everett Leader Herald, a local newspaper, and several co-respondents were added. In the second suit, the Everett City Solicitor, Assistant City Solicitor, and the CFO filed the second action against the same named co-respondents, with the addition of John Doe. It is odd the court would even allow such a broad wild card as John Doe, as it clearly is worded to include not just the administrator and author of works posted on Everett Reporter, but also others, including the site's members as readers of the material. It was and is a move designed to launch a wholesale attack on freedom of speech and clearly meant to intimidate anyone associated with or prone to challenging the DeMaria administration or its senior ranks. When Stephen Fitzgerald died, Everett Reporter members asked Tony to keep Everett Reporter functioning. However, since he did not have full administrative rights to Everett Reporter, he launched Everett Reporter 2 under his own name. Hence, it is the current insinuation and incorrect belief that Tony is the real John Doe when in fact, he is not. But that has not stopped the city of Everett, and with the blessings of Carlo DeMaria, from targeting Tony and other like-minded residents for this and other reasons. Hence, this is the real and true reasons for his arrest. DeMaria wants to end the existence and reporting of Everett Reporter, and Everett Reporter 2. But, frankly, they don't have a snowball's chance in hell. Tony had threatened no one, and in turn, there was no one who feared him as a result of posting a silly TikTok video. Tony and several other grassroots advocates are fixtures in City Hall and school committee chambers. In a rough calculation over the last year, Tony was present for at least half of the meetings, roughly speaking. In that time, and within the presence of those who claim now they fear his TikTok video, Tony never displayed anything but professionalism and in fact, kept his comments and opinions directed at the government bodies through his many instances of being a speaker during public participation. The proof is all on the video films, and it does not lie. Clearly, the DeMaria administration and his underlings used the posting to make a technical argument of witness intimidation. And that is something Tony experienced himself after receiving threats in the mail, with one being a copy of a meme he put on Facebook, only it had distinctive handwriting added, "You're going to get yours," and mailed to his home. This is not the only threatening or personal attack Tony has experienced, and it is likely from the same handful of scorned individuals who work at City Hall or have a vested interest in doing business with City Hall. The ominous piece of mail was reported to local authorities and no action was taken as a result. The arrest was timed to provide the mayor's favorite newspaper, The Advocate, with a one-sided slanted story of the arrest emphasizing Tony's past legal problems which occurred years ago. The Advocate, of course, failed to mention that Tony has been an upstanding community member for years running, now engaging in a productive career, showing a strong civic conscience and a tireless will to help others. Tony will be the first to tell you about the wayward side of his life, which makes his success and leadership skills all the more impressive given that he began his efforts from a point of disadvantage due to his past. And this is what riles the DeMaria administration the most. Tony Raymond has become a well-respected community leader, but in the eyes of the senior administration staff, the mayor himself, his cronies, and colleagues, he is a problem. Time and time again Tony would call out Everett officials during public participation comments or through the Facebook group Everett Reporter 2. No mistake should be made. Yes, the powers at 484 Broadway in Everett City Hall wanted to neutralize Tony, and they saw him as an easy mark because of his record. But they also want to silence the voices of any residents who are doing the same as Tony and calling out the elected officials and exposing what seems to be an endless supply of collusion, corruption, or bad behavior. At this point, Tony took the main hit. And he is fully able and prepared to deal with it. What should not be lost in Tony's arrest here is the fact that anyone who opposes the administration could be subject to the same retaliatory actions that are criminal and a gross violation of the Constitution and civil rights. Everyone within the city of Everett should be concerned. And everyone who respects First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, and most certainly, freedom of the press should also worry. And for who does the bell toll? It tolls for thee. Conclusion: senior officials within City of Everett government, to include Mayor Carlo DeMaria, are attempting to subvert individuals' rights to privacy and the constitutional protections that grant freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and most importantly, freedom of the press. They are doing this by using the John Doe wild card contained in the lawsuits, previously mentioned in this video. When Tony Raymond rebuffed their requests for his phone, email, and electronic communications, Everett city officials trumped up the witness intimidation charge and his subsequent arrest to both force his compliance to the subpoena and to neutralize Mr. Raymond, as well as subdue the Everett Reporter and Everett Reporter 2 Facebook pages.
Now you know the rest of the story.